shout out to my people. Green, silver, black, and white, always repping for my Eagles. Hey, hey, welcome to the podcast, we gon' keep it real. Get it hype when the team stepping on the field. We all we got, we all we need. Philadelphia Eagles, lock in with me. It's a Philly thing, you ready? Let's go.
Wow, ladies and gentlemen. Jalen Carter and the Philadelphia Eagles got it done. Right on schedule for training camp to begin, and right on schedule when apparently all parties on deck have come back from vacation. The season's about to begin, essentially, and they got this deal done. 4 years. $152 million, which can be up to $160 million, with $106 million guaranteed, resetting the defensive tackle market with an average yearly salary of $38 million. However, the cap hit, from what I saw, a tweet by Philly Nation, I'll give credit where credit's due, apparently the cap hit won't be greater than $12 million. Again, this just shows you why, when it comes to constructing a contract and building a contract, Howie Roseman is simply the best in the business. Just knows what he's doing. Now, I am thoroughly shocked by the fact that Jalen Carter and the Philadelphia Eagles have decided to reset the market at $38 million for the defensive tackle out of Georgia. Despite having a season where he was not great against the run, despite the fact that he came off a season plagued with injuries, despite the fact of his history just this past season of, I don't want to say insubordination, but spitting in the face of Dak Prescott opening night. Certainly not a good look. And then obviously we know during the season, him sitting out against certain teams due to the short schedule and the shoulder injuries and things like that. It is truly a shock to me, because this whole offseason and this whole time frame, we were talking about whether or not Jalen Carter should be put in trade talks. And we were in trade talks for Myles Garrett, Micah Parsons, other players of that caliber. And Jalen Carter's name was thrown into the mix. We were wondering, hey, should Jalen Carter get paid $30 million, $32 million? Should he get paid more than Jeffrey Simmons? Well, you know what? He did. He got paid more than Jeffrey Simmons, and the Philadelphia Eagles locked this contract up until 2031, I believe, is when the final year of that contract is, because they also have to include the fifth-year option here, or the existing rookie contract that is here for Jalen Carter into this equation. And they got it done. So now the offseason has officially turned into the new season with a new contract splash, and now they can go into training camp with everything solved. There won't be any holding anymore. You can get out on the field and start playing some football. Really good stuff by the Philadelphia Eagles and Howie Roseman. Listen, what does this mean for the Philadelphia Eagles going forward in terms of how they build out their roster? What does it mean for other players on the roster? Because this is a big contract. This is a big hit on the cap. I shouldn't really say that because it's only $12 million, but you get my point. There's a lot of money being dished out here to the interior of the defensive line. I mean, you're paying damn near $60 million for two players on the defensive line. Hell, you're paying damn near $70 million for Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter on the interior of this defensive line. Plus, you paid big money to Jonathan Grenard. Plus, you got Cooper DeJean, Quinyon Mitchell. Drew Makuba, Jahad Campbell, Zach Bond got paid last year. The transition from an expensive offense to an expensive defense is underway. And what does this mean for other guys on the roster? That's something that we're going to tackle just a little bit in just a few moments. But before I go ahead and do that, let me introduce everybody to the show. This is the Riding the Bench Eagles podcast. I am your host, Asif Badi, and like you, I am a Birds fan who talks about the Birds, only the Birds, and nothing but the Philadelphia Eagles. So please do us a favor here. Help us grow this channel organically by shooting this video a thumbs up, commenting your thoughts in the comment section below, and subscribing to the channel. Also, check us out on audio platforms such as Apple Podcasts and Spotify, and leave a 5-star review, because in the end, it doesn't cost you a damn thing to go ahead and hit that subscribe button. We appreciate your support on the opposite side of the camera and on the opposite side of the airwaves. So yeah, Jalen Carter signed, sealed, delivered. That's taken care of. Big deal. Now we know he's here at least until the 2031 season, unless they decide to somehow trade him at some point, which is a topic for discussion maybe some other time in the future. But for right now, he's locked set. He's going to play for the 2026 season in a big, huge, resetting the market type of contract. But what does this actually mean for the Philadelphia Eagles going forward? Because now you have to look at the rest of the roster and you say to yourself, okay, you allocated basically $70 million to Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis on the interior of this defensive line. You paid a 4-year, $100 million contract to Jonathan Grenard, $25 million per. Last season, you get a big extension to Zach Bond. You still have Jahad Campbell here. And then you got Tariq Woolen, who is here on a 1-year deal. You got Cooper DeJean. You got Quinyon Mitchell in the next few years that are going to have to get their money. Plus, you have Moro Ojomo in the weights down the roster line, who potentially could get paid a big contract if he plays the way he's been playing these past couple of years, probably going to test free agency and get close to $20 million per year. So the question now Howie Roseman has to ask and answer is, how am I going to allocate the rest of the money to the rest of this roster? I think, listen, when it comes to contracts, I don't really worry about the money per se. With Howie Roseman, I'm full confidence. Every Eagle fan and every GM and everybody in the NFL world should feel very confident Jeffrey Lurie and Howie Roseman will get contractually anything done to supply this roster with players they need. They know how to work the system. They know how to work the books. They know how to work the salary cap. So everything that they're doing, they know what they're doing in that front, right? However, the identity of this team is going to be different. The identity of this team now is going to be, which it already has been established just based on the last couple of years, a defensive-led and running back-led minded football team. The transition has begun. I've been saying it's a rebuild. This is part of the rebuild. You pay Jordan Davis. You pay Jalen Carter. You most likely are going to pay Quinyon Mitchell, you're going to pay Cooper DeJean, and those guys are going to get probably close to $30 million per. You're going to have to pay Jahad Campbell in a couple of years. Moro Ojomo's a question mark. What do you do there? You just paid Grenard. And now, what is the remedy here? Because now on the offensive side of the ball, you have Jalen Hurts' contract due next offseason, and I'm sure they're going to try to find a way to get it done based on his play this year. I believe they're setting it up where he's going to have to struggle this year in order for them to justify not giving him an extension. If they win games and they win a potential Super Bowl, he's getting paid, $50+ million once again. But as of right now, the question mark is he worth $60+ million? Devontae Smith, he had a contract extension a couple of years ago. What's it going to look like now that he's the number one receiver? What of Landon Dickerson? What of Cam Jurgens? What of Lane Johnson? What do you do at right tackle if Markel Bell doesn't work out? Do you go out and pay somebody? Do you have to go out and draft somebody? There's a lot of things here. Dallas Goedert's contract. There's a lot of things here that this move has a domino effect on. And it's questions that we're going to have to figure out as the time comes. Right now, this is just such a reactionary piece because this just happened earlier today. I can't necessarily say I thought about the roster 2, 3, 4 years from now because that's really Howie Roseman's job. But it's a worthwhile question. What about the rest of the roster? Because again, I'll tell you what, $70 million to dedicate to the interior defensive line, plus $25 million for Jonathan Grenard, plus guys like Jalen Hunt going to be having to get some money done. Cooper DeJean is a second-round pick, so he doesn't have a fifth-year option. Tariq Woolen, is he going to get extended after this year? I think this move probably indicates that he won't. Quinyon Mitchell has the fifth-year option. Drew Makuba, another guy who was drafted in the second round, he's going to have to get extended if he continues to play well. I mean, there's a lot of things here that this move has a domino effect on. And to me, I think they're transitioning from an offensive dominant paid roster to a defensive dominated paid roster. And that's how the pendulum shift is happening. Does that mean Jalen Hurts gets his $60 million if we win a Super Bowl or play really well this year? Does that mean guys like Saquon Barkley get a big contract if they turn out to have a really good season? What of Lane Johnson, Landon Dickerson? I mean, all these things matter and all these things are worthwhile questions for. To me, on the defensive side, Moro Ajomo, if he plays well this year, what do you do with that player? That's going to be another guy, which will lead me to the final point of this episode and the final point of my reaction here. This is the curse of drafting really well, but it's also something that just we have to acknowledge. Philadelphia, due to money and contractual obligations, have let a lot of talented players go. On the defensive side, you let Josh Sweat walk out the building. You let Milton Williams walk out the building. You let Isaiah Rodgers walk out the building. Chauncey Gardner-Johnson you got rid of. You got rid of potentially Moro Ajomo with this contract. You got rid of Nakobe Dean. You got rid of Reed Blankenship. You let Darius Slay walk. And again, that was more of a career finisher. I understand that he ended his career essentially. But that's a lot of players. That's a lot of players you just let walk out the building. All due to contractual obligations. That's basically a starting unit that I just listed. Like if you had a defense that had those guys on the roster, you would say, wow, that's a pretty talented defensive group. And all were Philadelphia Eagles, and all were let out the building and just let walking. It's something that we just have to, I think, just keep in mind. I mean, my goodness, how many starting caliber players in the NFL, one, does this team have? And two, how many times are you going to let guys walk out the building? Now, they didn't let Jalen Carter walk out the building, so I guess that's a point for Howie. But man, oh man, that is a lot of people we just let walk. I don't know how they do it. I don't know how they do it. Again, I'm only bringing that up because this is a lot of money that you have to allocate to this side of the ball, which now just means on the offensive side of the ball, the transition to becoming a more younger, youthful, and less expensive offense is underway. That's bottom line. Don't be surprised over these next couple of years. You see the transition now being heavily focused on drafting offensive linemen, drafting offensive skill guys. I mean, they already got Mekhi Lemon and Eli Stowers, Markel Bell, Micah Morris. I mean, they drafted a lot of guys in this past draft for the offensive side of the ball. They drafted Cole Payton, which, I mean, they always take a quarterback, but don't be surprised in the next few years that we draft more offensive skill guys and more offensive-based players, because that's the transition now. This is where the rebuild begins. Jalen Carter's contract, resetting the market, is just the first domino to fall for that to occur. Very, very interesting. Kudos to Howie Roseman and the Philadelphia Eagles, and congratulations to Jalen Carter, Drew Rosenhaus, and whoever else represents Jalen Carter's team. They got the contract done. They got the number they wanted. And quite frankly, the Philadelphia Eagles got a really talented player who, yes, has some issues off the field and disciplinary issues on the field, but a talented player nonetheless who, if he's right, is one of the better, more talented defensive linemen in the NFL. And he's locked up for 2031 and at least for 2026. So what say you? Let me know your thoughts and comments in reaction to this breaking news. I am curious to see what fans believe in regards to this contract and what it means for the Philadelphia Eagles going forward. With that being said, everybody, thank you so much for watching, and we will see you next time right here at the Riding the Bench Eagles podcast. Hey, thank you so much for getting through this episode of the Riding the Bench Eagles podcast. If you want more content just like this, hit the subscribe button below to lock in with me. Thank you so much for your support on the opposite side of the camera, and check us out on other platforms in the description box below. And we'll see you back here next time for the next episode of the Riding the Bench Eagles podcast.